p.m. on January 20th. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the previous EP committee meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Next order of business is is a presentation from the Onondaga County Water Authority. We have a few folks from Aqua here. I can invite you guys up to the table if you'd like.
Here. Have a seat here. I'm gonna move over here on that side.
I definitely had a few lines of questions for you, but if you had, it looks like you've got a kind of an overview informational presentation as well, so I can let you.
Sounds good. We will go do that.
Absolutely.
So, my name is Jeff Brown, Executive Director of the Onondaga County Water Authority. I'm joined today by Jeff Miller, our Executive Director of Operations, and Andrew Weiss, our Director of Technical Services. Both are professional engineers. We'll start with this slide, please.
Oh, I believe, does it sit right here? Is this remote? Who put this on the
It's a tape recorder.
Yes, that is a tape recorder.
All right. Okay, well.
Are they gonna? You're gonna switch it for me? Okay, sounds great. So just a brief history of the authority. 1908 is when we started building water infrastructure around Atisco Lake. Aqua was created in 1951, and then we had to acquire the assets, and we began operations in 1955. We started with roughly 9,000 customers and 134 miles of main. We're now up to 107,000 metered accounts and over 2,200 miles of main. Separate from the Atisco Lake system is the Lake Ontario system, which in 1962, the Board of Supervisors created. The district, as well as the Metropolitan Water Board, you may hear that term from time to time. They actually ran the water system in the district with access up to 60 million gallons. Basically, they were a wholesale provider, and we were their major customer, Aqua. In 2017, the county entered into an agreement with Aqua, where we are now operating the consolidated system, and we are a combined wholesaler and retailer in a 5-county region. Next slide. Here is the current statistics about our system. We serve roughly 500,000 people with a backup supply to the city of Syracuse. We directly supply 33 towns and 13 villages. We are backup supply to 5 cities and a village, the village of Baldwinsville. We have over 14,000 fire hydrants in our system, 63 storage facilities, and 48 pump stations. Typical day, we average roughly 36 million gallons from our 3 water sources. Atisco Lake and Lake Ontario are directly operated by Aqua, those treatment facilities. WTP is water treatment plant. And we also get roughly 2 million gallons a day on average from Skaneateles Lake through the city of Syracuse. Maximum day is 52 million gallons a day. Combined source capacity for Aqua in the region is 83 plus or minus million gallons a day. Next slide. And here's the map. As you can see, the blue is all of the transmission mains affiliated with Aqua. The black is the city of Syracuse's transmission mains. And you can see our 3 sources there. Atisco Lake at the bottom of the screen. Skaneateles Lake is the city supply. And then Lake Ontario at the top left-hand corner. All of these are the transmission mains in our system, so these are 16-inch or larger mains through the system. We have many more miles of main that are distribution mains throughout the system. Next slide. So who are those other providers? We are not the only one who provides water in the region. Talk about the city of Syracuse, we know they do. We serve the town of DeWitt and Clay is a wholesale customer, so they actually have their own water departments in a portion of those two towns. We are emergency, the city of Fulton, talked about the village of Baldwinsville, they have groundwater wells, and they operate their own system. City of Oneida, it was a big help to us during the break, which we'll get into a little later, that we have an emergency connection with them. Water flows both ways, depending on who needs what. We are a wholesale provider to Phoenix, Hannibal, and the town and village of Skaneateles, as well as Jordan Elbridge. They have their own water systems and get water from the city, from Skaneateles Lake. Next slide. So who gets what water? What this slide shows is the blue hatching alone is all Atisco Lake water. The more purple hatching are folks who can get either Atisco Lake or Ontario. And then finally, the red hatching is everybody who typically gets exclusively Ontario water. With what happened with the break, those lines sort of fell down a little bit, and it just showed the resiliency of our system, where we were able to move Atisco Lake water where we normally wouldn't get it into parts of our system. So really happy with how the system held up during this challenge that we recently had. And you can see all the 5 counties that we serve there, including in the upper left in Cayuga County, the town of Sterling, and out to the east, the Oneida County, including Verona, Vienna, and Sylvan Beach. Next slide. We do have a lot of storage in our system. Remember, we have 36 million gallons a day is an average day, and we have 173 million gallons of storage in our system with 3 main reservoirs, and those are, the photos are across the bottom there with Western, the Terminal Reservoir, which is across from Great Northern Mall, and the Eastern Reservoir in the town of Manly is Alverna Heights. And then some of our tower tanks as well at the top there. So a total of 173 million gallons of storage. Slide. Here are our finances. We are running a budget this year of $70 million, a capital budget of $40 million. We have 187 full-time positions. I'm proud to say that we don't have a single opening right now. We are completely full with staffing. Our payroll is $15 million. And we have $125 million that we've spent on improvements to our system and outstanding bonds. We have the second highest bond rating, very proud of that, that's available, just below AAA. And we have an emergency reserve of $5 million. We have a number of other reserves as well, but just wanted to point out the emergency reserve. Next slide.
So Jeff, I'd just like to point out that per your slide there, Aqua has its own independent budget that is not set by the county legislature. I think that often gets lost in the shuffle of everything going on in different budgets and different entities. So
That's correct.
just want to be clear about that.
Okay. Yes.
Greg,
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just on the reserve for a second. Thank you. On the reserve for a second, Jeff. Good to see you, by the way.
Can you expand a little bit on not what the reserves are in the other areas, but the structure of them? Is it by fund or by district? You know,
No,
source, so the city investments may have its own reserve, and how does it work with Aqua? Since
No,
as
it's basically
Yeah.
based on the type of reserve we need. So there's a rate stabilization reserve, if, you know, we needed to stabilize rates. There's the reserve related to emergency repairs. So it's basically by category. It doesn't relate to any particular period.
Financial purpose.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, I just.
wanted to clarify again, as Legislator Kelly said, it's kind of out of scope for, a little out of scope for us to do normal discussion, right? So understanding that is very helpful in terms of how you build a business. Thanks.
So when we took over the operations of the Ontario system, we decided to put some money into the system. That system is still, you know, it was in good shape. It was very solidly built in the 60s, but it definitely needed some improvement. So here's a list of the various improvements that we have made to that system over the past 10 years or so, or since 2018 going into 2028. So about 124 million in the Ontario distribution system alone. Next slide. And just some of the things that we have improved upon. On the left is the old clarifying technology that was used, and we now have more modern contact basins that allow settling out of any particulates in the water, the raw water as it flows into the plant before it's filtered. Next slide. This is something that we have initiated a transmission main inspection program using the latest technology. This is electromagnetic technology that you put into large diameter transmission mains. It flows through the water, giving just a fantastic amount of information. We did this for the raw water transmission main, the 2 miles that take us from the Ontario shoreline where we bring the water in to our treatment plant in the town of Oswego. And happy to say that there was no anomalies in the pipe. So we are going to continue that inspection program moving forward. Next slide. And then the finished water storage up at Ontario, this is right next to the treatment plant. We are expanding it as well as replacing the steel tanks there with concrete tanks and basically doubling the size of that storage to make sure that there's sufficient contact time with the disinfectant before the water is put into the system and travels down to Onondaga County. Next slide. There's a lot here going on. Just wanted to make the point that we have a very robust capital improvement plan for our system, $650 million roughly over the next decade. One thing I will call out in there is our lead service line replacement. That is something that all municipal utilities are needing to deal with. So we have 20 million in there. We are fortunate to have relatively few lead services that we have at least identified at this point in our system compared to other utilities. So, but it's still going to be multi-millions of dollars for us to deal with that situation. Next slide. And that is a requirement from the federal government that all lead service lines be replaced within the next 10 years or so. This shows you at a high level, the things that we are planning to do to our system to improve it related to Micron and associated regional growth. So this is not all Micron. This is affiliated with projected regional growth. It is also super important several of these are parallel transmission mains to provide redundancy in our system. So having redundancy is absolutely critical for our community, not only for Micron, but for all of our customers. So really excited about adding that redundancy to our system.
Can I just, for clarity on this slide, is this consistent with the MGD that Micron is currently projecting?
Yes, it is. Okay. Yes, it is. Yes, these are the amount of gallons that Micron is requesting has not changed over the last multiple months. They've been pretty firm. It's at the end of phase one, which is the first two fabs, at roughly 16.8 million gallons
Okay,
of water from Aqua.
okay.
Next slide. Okay, turning into the break, we wanted to first provide some overview slides of what we do at Aqua to manage breaks and hopefully prevent breaks from being a significant impact. And here are the 6 main things that we do. We have a computer system called our SCADA system that monitors flows and pressures 24/7, 365, hundreds of sensors throughout our system automatically detect issues. We have operators that are on duty 24/7, 365, who monitor pump stations, tanks, flows, and everything in our system through that computer system. We have leak detection staff that goes out daily and has specialized acoustical monitoring equipment. They typically do that at night when it's more quiet so they can find out where the breaks are. And we have a very robust system there. Number 4 is that product that I showed you previously, the electromagnetic sensor technology that is being used to perform condition assessment on all of our pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe. That is our main transmission lines are built with concrete. We are prioritizing that based on consequence of failure. In other words, if it does fail, could we get water to that area, or is it relatively isolated? And then also probability of failure. So we are analyzing that. We actually have retained an engineer to do that work. Modeling is being used to prioritize distribution main replacements utilizing GIS data. And then finally, we have folks in the field 24/7, 365 available to go triage issues and call out repair crews as necessary. Next slide. So what is our response planning? What do we do to make sure utilities throughout New York are part of that? We provide support for each other as needed when there is an issue. We have pre-staged large diameter transmission pipeline replacement parts, so we don't have to go looking for them, and we have them on site. We regularly interface with emergency management personnel in all 5 counties we serve, so we are always talking to our emergency management partners. We regularly communicate with adjoining municipal water providers. Again, they may need water from us, we may need water from them. We are always talking and have great relationships. And finally, we have an emergency repair contractor on standby to respond to any emergencies. Next slide. So let's get into the details of what happened with the Eastern Branch transmission main here. We identified the leak on November 21st. Now, there was a leak that occurred in the summer off of the transmission main on a repair valve, or a blow-off valve, excuse me. We considered that a typical repair. It was very standard for us. What I am focusing on is the atypical repairs that happen subsequent to that. We filled the storage tanks multiple times to capacity before we progressed a series of challenging repairs. Each time a subsequent leak became apparent, soil conditions were very, very challenging. Ultimately, on December 20th, they all failed. Soil conditions became insurmountable, and our traditional approaches, we repair breaks all the time, could not be maintained. Worker safety could not be maintained.
Can I just take it back a
Yes.
couple of points? On the storage tanks that were filled to capacity, was that just in the eastern storage tank, or are other storage tanks able to be used in reserve in an event like this?
Eastern and everything past Eastern was filled too. The ones on the west really couldn't help us in that situation, yes. But everything that would have a positive impact was filled to capacity. again, multiple times. We did one repair, it didn't work. We then filled it up again, attempted a second repair. And again, we could not maintain worker safety, which is our absolute paramount concern at the authority. The time of failure, water levels in the reservoir had dropped to critically low levels. As you can imagine, we were dealing with the repair, and as the repair was being dealt with, the reserves went down. So we were at critically low levels when we ultimately were unsuccessful. Next slide. So we immediately issued a voluntary water conservation that same day that the repairs did not hold. And then it was elevated to a mandatory alert the following day. We implemented numerous system flow modifications, absolutely critical to allowing us to keep all of our customers in water, and we'll discuss that in the next slide. We coordinated with our neighboring water utilities to open those emergency interconnections that are always there, and this is what they're designed for. By December 24th, every single material that we needed as far as getting the process started was in place. Specialty contractors were retained, and our engineering was ready, and sheet pile installation commenced. I can't stress enough how significantly aggressive a timeline that was to get that all in place. Crews worked 24 hours per day, except on Christmas Day, to get the site ready for the repairs. That last double bullet is super important. We maintained regular contact with all regulatory agencies during this process and throughout the repair. We actually had to start twice daily conference calls with all of the health agencies, including state health, county health, and all of the emergency management officials from all 5 counties that we serve. So that ultimately transitioned to once a day updates, and that continued until today, where we had our final meeting with the health departments. Next slide. So here are the movements and system flow modifications that we made. On the far right in the pink is what we got from the city of Oneida. They were very generous in moving water into the eastern part of our system, into Canastota, Chittenango, and that tank remained full. Then the green, we actually moved water, as I said, typically that only goes to the town of DeWitt, actually flowed through the town of DeWitt, they were extremely helpful to work with us and the city of Syracuse, getting that water through DeWitt and into parts of Manlius, where we are most at risk of customers going out of water. And then we also moved water with those 2 red dots in the center. We actually put in emergency pumps that flowed water over areas that typically wouldn't see water flow and into the reservoir, including water from Atisco Lake. And finally, at the top of Oneida Lake, we moved more water than usual around the top through Sylvan Beach and in the eastern part of our system in Madison County. So really Herculean efforts. Next slide. And this is the repair that was just completed on Saturday. We had to put the metal sheeting in first, number 1 there. The dewatering wells, the amount of water that we had to dewater was very, very significant. And we had a specialty contractor come in from New Jersey who deals with this on a regular basis to build those wells and get the bypass pumping in place. Then we dewatered it, we excavated the trench and demolished the existing pipe, which went in stages. We started from the far left end, which is the upstream portion, and moved to the downstream portion in sections, making sure that each section was stable before we moved on to the next section of replacement pipe. And finally, the piping was completed on the 17th, actually, one day late, but given the weather conditions that we've had and all the rain and turning to snow, we were very, very happy with getting it done just one day late. Next slide. I wanted to end, this is my last slide. If you could just hold, I'll go one at a time. Yeah, go ahead for that first one, please. Thank you. What did we learn? Central New Yorkers are resilient. Our customers stepped up, not only residential customers, but commercial customers, industrial customers. They all did their part and really, really couldn't have done it without them. The resilience of our customers was really shown through. Second, we were able to turn a potential crisis with people going out of water. That first day on the 20th, if you talk to my team, they thought we were going to lose water. We turned it into a manageable challenge. Thanks to the employees at Aqua and the system changes that we made, really couldn't have done it without them. And our partners that we talked about, getting that supplemental water to us where we needed it. Next. Redundancy is going to be more important than ever moving forward. We need to have redundant systems. I talked about that. We are putting those in place as part of what we're doing with Micron and projected regional growth. And finally, continued capital infrastructure investment is key to maintaining system integrity. We need to continue. We've invested a lot in this system. I would put our system up against any system in the Northeast with the amount of temperature changes that we have. We have a very good system, and we maintain it best as we can, but we need to keep putting money into it. And as I showed you with the $650 million plan over the next decade, we intend to do that. So, slide. Open to any questions at this point.
Jeff, I want to just thank you for your transparency throughout the process. I was able to follow along with most of the press conferences that you did with emergency management and the county executive. Really happy that you touched on redundancy and how important that's going to be going forward. I think this kind of served as a wake-up call that that really matters, and it's important that we invest in our systems. A few things that you touched on throughout the press conferences is we follow best practice in terms of regular surveillance, regular maintenance of our pipes. I think you mentioned a few things that we've explored that really aren't feasible, to do any additional levels beyond all of the surveillance that you walked through in the presentation. So is that all correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we do a very good job. That electromagnetic technology that we showed, that's roughly $1 million a mile.
Right.
We have over 220 miles of transmission main. So it would be $220 million alone just to inspect all those. So we are, again, having an engineering firm look, what's the systems that are most likely to fail and most likely to have a big consequence. So we are doing that as best that we can with the budget constraints that we have.
That's where that modeling really comes into play, yeah. I want to thank you as well. I had phone calls into Aqua on Christmas Eve. Didn't have any trouble getting a hold of people just for some regular maintenance going on up in the town of Clay. So we had crews out that day, and appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually, right at the beginning, we had our customer service staff stay overtime to answer any calls. Thank you.
I had a few questions. If anyone, first of all, again, thank you for the work that you've done, the work that your team has done, and everybody else at Aqua to turn this into something that was manageable and to prevent a real catastrophe. I know this is not how anyone thought they'd be spending their holidays, but your team did some outstanding work to get us here. So you had alluded to the fact that today was your last meeting with health departments. Are the repairs over, or is that, I don't know if you could
Sure,
let us know
absolutely.
where things are
Yeah,
today?
that's a great question. So the repairs were completed on Saturday. We needed to then sanitize the line and refill it with water. It's actually valved off, so none of that water can get into our distribution system. Once the line was full and pressurized, then we took samples. And we have to take 2 sets of samples 24 hours apart, get the results back. We're expecting those final results to be in place tomorrow night. Once that is in place, then we can lift the valve, start filling the eastern reservoir, and we're projecting by Thursday to be back to normal levels, and we can lift all voluntary conservation.
That's fantastic. As far as how the emergency repairs progressed, you had mentioned that there's a quarterly emergency management plan that Aqua has. I don't know if you could speak to how the repairs went in practice versus the plan that's on the books.
Andrew, why don't you speak to a little bit about the repairs themselves as they progressed? I think you're best to answer that question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, so we do maintain a comprehensive emergency management plan. The plan, you can't predict where these things are going to happen, right? So the plan really provides us a management structure of how to deal with all the challenging elements of a large-scale emergency like this. And I would say the team at Aqua really embraced all the practice that we've done over the years, and everybody knew where they were best suited to perform. Engineering, operations, leadership, and public outreach, everybody slotted in where they could be most effective. The repair itself was fairly extraordinary. As you saw on the slide, the graphic doesn't really pay it its due as to how complex it was. And what we really found was our partners were essential in pulling this off. And so our emergency contractor that Jeff referenced was a key player and mobilized as fast as we made that first phone call and stayed with this nearly round the clock every day until it was done. The scale was a lot larger than things we had rehearsed in the emergency management planning, but all the skills were still appropriate. So, Jeff touched on procurement of materials. We had to acquire additional pipe beyond what our inventories already had. We had to acquire specialty contractors. Only one came from New Jersey. Everybody else was right here in Syracuse. Partners whose name you would all recognize and see their logos around every day. Everybody turned their attention to us over the holidays and made this possible on about the fastest time scale we could imagine this ever happening. So I would say the team as a whole, as well as all the partner agencies like the City of Syracuse and City of Oneida, all understood the mission. The water systems all around here practice for these moments, but thankfully don't have these moments very often. So I was really pleased with how the team came together to pull off such a complicated construction. And to be clear, we're still going to be out there on the site for a few more weeks. The pipe is complete. Water will be flowing momentarily. We still have to put the site back the way we found it. Our partners at DEC have been very gracious, but we are in fact on the edge of a wetland, and so there's a whole restoration moment that'll come this spring where we put back all the resources the way they should be and leave the site hopefully for a nice long time.
I imagine that's all going to be a little more difficult with if the ground is frozen.
100%. So we'll keep it stable for the winter, and then come spring we'll have an approved rehabilitation plan for the whole area and work with DEC and Army Corps to reestablish any vegetation or anything else that was lost in the repair.
Was there any, and we may not be there yet, but I don't know if was there any thought given to this being declared an emergency such that federal or state reimbursement would come into play?
Well, we did talk at the beginning with the county executive whether we should declare, it should be declared an emergency. And we were ready to do it, but we were able to mobilize resources, reconfigure our system, and keep everybody in water. The key, I think, for emergency declaration was that whether folks were going to get out of water. So that didn't occur, so we never went that route.
And is that generally the criteria that you're looking at for a declaration like that?
Yeah, I think it has to be something where there's an impact on customers, and fortunately, there wasn't a significant impact on customers thanks to all the hard work everybody did.
anything, this may be premature, but anything from this that you can take into the next quarterly comprehensive plan?
I'm sure there will be some things that we can think about. We need to have that postmortem, right, and debrief and get down to the real nitty-gritty on things. I know, as Andrew said, we had to get more repair parts than we had in stock. Quite frankly, we never thought we would have to do 8 or 9 different sections of pipe. So we may increase the number of pipes that we have. But that, quite frankly, did not slow down the process. I want to be clear on that. We got the piping where we needed to get it from as they were digging and stabilizing the site. It did not slow us down.
Is there a plan from, this may not be Aqua's purview, so obviously tell me if it's not. Do you know if there's a plan to reach out to some of the affected residents to see how it may have, how this affected them and get feedback from folks in the towns where there was a shortage?
I would say that we kept in touch with all of the supervisors and mayors in the affected areas. We had every other day updates with them live via Zoom. So we heard directly from them as issues arose. We are definitely going to be reaching out to our customers, though, thanking them for what they've done, and we certainly would be looking for feedback from them as well.
Is there, I think one of the things that I've heard was, as far as Aqua's website is concerned, that it, not a huge surprise, crashed a couple times. Can't think of everything. Is that something that can go into the next round of comprehensive planning?
Yeah, I guess I can speak to that.
And the reason I'm turning it over to Andrew is he is the director of technical
This
services.
is also an IT thing.
He oversees IT.
Yeah, no, this is really the reality, right? This is all of us that are in infrastructure can learn from these moments. So in Aqua's history, the traffic to our website is quite low. We like it that way. That's our preference, right? Is that it's not a really poignant thing to look at for most people. That changed very rapidly when it came to the chance that several towns would lose water. So quite humbly, we've increased the capacity of our website server now to hopefully mitigate that going forward, but it was legitimately an inrush of web visits that just by orders of magnitude exceeded anything we've ever seen before.
And I will tell you, I was on the phone late at night, so was Andrew with our IT manager coming in. We were on top of it, but it just overwhelmed us a little bit.
That's totally understandable. I think sorry, go ahead. If you've got one.
Next one.
Okay, just as a follow-up on that, this is just an open-ended question to maybe pass along to the IT folks. If it's possible to have a running, kind of a running update for the amount of water that is in reserve at various, at various tanks and towers. I'm not sure if that's a possibility, but that may, I suppose if it's out there, that could decrease the traffic if that's something that can get out there.
Glad they take that feedback. We host the lake level on our website for the 2 lakes, so we're halfway there.
Go for it.
Thank you. Water, right, and no one probably knew who you were or who Aqua was because they have water, till the threat of having no water or having no water. And what you've done as the leader, and I know you have a team that works with you, but the leader, you're the one that put this together, is nothing short of amazing. The communication that I witnessed over the last 2 weeks, though it's not in my district, it's still it's a major part of Onondaga County, a major story in Onondaga County. And to see the communication between the local officials getting that information out, not only via Syracuse.com, Channel 9, Channel 3, Facebook, Twitter, I've even seen TikToks to get the information out to all the people. The collaboration was amazing. just water.
Yeah,
Now
thank you.
now you're, could be a legend.
Yeah.
Look what you
I
did.
don't know about that, but
It was just wonderful work to get this put back together.
Yeah.
And to get it done and to have no one lose water is just amazing. And
Thank you.
you're welcome.
As an aside, do we still have the best tasting water in New York State?
2 years running, yep.
All right, let the record
One
show.
year, 1 year was Atisco Lake and one water, and one was Ontario water, so,
Right.
yeah.
Indiana's been big too.
Yeah.
I said, but to what you said, Kevin, it really was amazing, especially how soon it was done. But one of the things we were talking to legislator Eriksen's question was with FEMA and the emergency funds, we were just talking about it because just before the water main break, it was documented we had a couple tremors, earthquake tremors, and it was in that area. And so we were just wondering, is that something that you, see, that's something that you might be looking at. 'Cause
We will
that's something that
definitely
we
look at
looked
that.
And we researched it, and it was like a week prior to that, or maybe it was like right there in that area.
Thank you for
Interesting,
letting
yeah,
me
we'll look into that.
Yep.
Really briefly, thank you, I echo, we'll start Jeremiah.
A microphone, please.
Yes.
I have a link, I'll send you the link
Oh,
about the
thank you.
earthquake, because I shared that with the caucus.
Thank you.
I'll actually stand here so you don't have to turn around.
Oh,
No, good. Thank you also. I echo all my colleagues. You've been so accessible and really helpful and comprehensive in your information when you had a lot already going on. So that's very much appreciated. I was wondering if we could circle back to the slide you said about the redundancies and the micron development. I know you and I had briefly spoken about the state, some grant funding and things of that nature. Could you just speak to how that funding is going to work related to the redundancies and the increased water needed for the micron development?
Improvements that are on this slide here, so including the parallel eastern branch, which is a very, very important component of this entire water system, the eastern side of our system. So yes, we were fortunate to have that amount of money pledged to us over a number of years. We have been working with the Empire State Development on getting access to that funding. They've been very responsive to us. So yes, that is one portion of it. We are in negotiations with Micron as well to pay for their fair share. So it's going to be a collaborative effort to get this redundancy in place that we need for our community. Does that answer it?
Yes.
Are there any concerns with cybersecurity? Is that an area that presents challenges, or?
We are always looking at it. I would say, I have a key performance indicator that I look at on a regular basis, and we have not been a target, right? So we have very, very robust, and Andrew could get into more specifics than I could, but we have very robust systems in place to protect us. That's one thing, but the other thing is, at least as of right now, we have not been a target. We monitor how many times advanced attacks are directed at our place. I think the last 3 months, there was roughly 9. So, and when I say advanced attacks, that doesn't mean a full-blown attack, but just something that's more sophisticated. That is a very small number. I've been told by my IT manager, if you see that spiking up, then you're really got a cause for concern, but it's basically remained below double digits since I've been there. Anything to add, Andrew?
It's certainly front of mind, and we work with a lot of our partner agencies like CISA, Homeland Security, Emergency Management here in the county. It's something our team pays attention to every day, because everybody at Aqua, one way or another, is interacting with technology, and obviously a lot of our systems, as Jeff mentioned, monitoring the water system is our operational technology, which is especially important. We test the systems regularly. We've worked with third-party vendors as well as federal partners to test our fortitude and really come back with really resounding positive results from that our systems are modern, are updated and are strong. And as Jeff indicated, we do keep a very close eye on all activity around our digital footprint, and are very quick to respond. We have a couple tiers of response in place, including external third-party vendors that have 24-hour-a-day monitoring for advanced attacks and can actually intercept them on our behalf if anything looks atypical. So we do believe we're fairly state of the industry as far as our cyber resilience goes, but it's something, it's a very fast-changing landscape. So our IT team is sort of always monitoring that.
And we had CISA, the federal government, in along with other large water authorities. We hosted them in the last several months to do a tabletop exercise to make sure that we are ready to go.
That is correct.
To segue off of legislators Kelly's question about security, I was fortunate enough to take a tour of the clay facility up on Route 31. If you could just touch a little bit on how safe, because I was taken back by just how safe the actual water is and what you do to protect the water.
That's really something that's important. The state of the industry many years, 10, 20 years ago was open reservoirs. We have now closed our reservoirs, right? Those 3 big reservoirs, they are all closed, which is absolutely critical to trying to protect them from attack. We barbed wire fence, all those good things around the facility as well. Yeah, we have very strong physical security. We have cameras throughout. We have those people who are monitoring our cameras 24/7, 365. We will prosecute people if they have, we've had a few minor incidents with people coming into our yard at our facility in Northern Concourse by the airport. Nothing intended to be an attack on us, just some people who are trying to have fun, and we've dealt with that. But all in all, we have a very robust physical security in addition to the cybersecurity footprint.
And it's not just the physical infrastructure that's under constant surveillance, but also the quality of the water, right?
Absolutely. We basically do twice the amount of water quality tests that we need to do a year, roughly 15,000 a year. Jeff can talk to that. So we are definitely take that very seriously. And during this, the break, we actually increased the amount of water quality testing we did in those affected areas to make sure that nothing was amiss.
Had a couple of general follow-up questions from earlier in your presentation. You noted 17 million gallons a day from Otisco Lake that's typical. Is there a stated limit to how much water can be taken from that lake by Aqua?
It is 20 million gallons. So we actually we maximize water from there because it is gravity fed into our system. So we don't have to pump it. We don't have to pay the costs associated with pumping. So we maximize that, and our Ontario supply is the one that fluctuates depending on the time of the year.
And is the Ontario is that also limited by regulation or statute?
It is currently limited. It's 63 million gallons a day. We have requested to increase that to roughly 93 million gallons a day, and that request for regulatory approval is pending.
Is that my frame of reference on this is the just bonkers agreement that exists for the Colorado River that is, we won't go there. Anyway, is there a similar, intermunicipal type agreement under which the share of water is allocated for Lake Ontario?
There is a commission that oversees that, and so the request to increase our intake was approved by the DEC and sent into the Great Lakes Commission, and they are the ones who can give final approval. As part of that, other states can weigh in. Michigan has weighed in, others, and the amount of water is so great in that lake that there hasn't been a concern.
We're in better shape than the Colorado River there, but that sounds good. As far as, I don't know if we can go back to the spreadsheet of limited time today, but I can just ask as a general principle, are these capital projects, I assume, are proposed with increased expansion, due to Micron and other associated anticipated expansion in mind?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, but we have to maintain the entirety of our system.
Sure.
All of our customers are important. So this includes improvements to our Tisco system, our Ontario system, and the system that gets fed with Skaneateles Lake. So,
Okay.
and I would point out that this is, we have a master planning effort that's being done. These are numbers that are being reaffirmed by our master planning effort.
Okay, I guess maybe the better way to put it is, as far as Aqua is aware today, when all of those projects are completed in 6 or 8 or 10 years, this is this essentially what Aqua anticipates the need will be in 2032, 2033, when Micron is hopefully, fully online and we've seen the growth that we hope to see here?
This is our projection as of today.
I'm not gonna hold you to it,
Yeah.
it's okay.
That certainly can change, but this is our best projection right now.
You had mentioned Micron's looking for 16.8 MGD from Aqua. My understanding is obviously they have needs beyond that. That may be outside your purview. Do you know where Micron's additional, just so that I know the best place to go for follow-ups, where Micron's additional water is expected to come from?
Certainly I know that the county has been working on reclaimed water, right? That's a part of the system that they are working on. Very, very important from a resiliency standpoint and an environmental impact standpoint. So that certainly is, we are working with WEP and the county on that.
This spreadsheet does not include, does this include regular maintenance, or this is just expansion capital
It
improvement
includes,
projects that?
it includes our major capital projects, right? So, and it does include regular maintenance, like there's painting on there, right? Believe it or not, it costs a lot of money to paint our tanks. We've got one in there, as you can see, one single tank is 1.5 million to paint it. So but it's important to maintain the integrity of those facilities to do the work that we're projecting here.
In relation to the break you had earlier, there were some signs ahead of time that you explained. A couple, you tried to fix it a few times. Are there any comparable issues going on now to those circumstances for other breaks or issues that might arise?
Not that we are aware of.
Okay.
If we were aware of it, we would be addressing them, right?
Okay.
So,
It sounds like you were aware of that one a little bit. Like there were some issues, like you tried to address it a couple times. Did I misinterpret that?
we weren't aware of the breaks that, as the one break was fixed, another break surfaced. So that's how we explained it. There was a break in the blow-off, and as I said, that was a typical repair. Nothing unusual about it. Everything that happened starting in November was extremely atypical. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the
And
significance.
Andrew is in charge of making those repairs, so that's why I want to hear from him as well.
Yeah, thank you. There's a significant difference between that summer repair that was done and then the repairs that brought us to where we are today. The real difference being scale. That first blow-off repair was a 12-inch valve, which is a very common part in our system. The valves consistently only last about 50 to 60 years and start to show their age, when in contrast to like our large transmission mains, which tend to be a lot longer lived, tend to easily hit the 100-year mark, and we have systems in place that are 100 years old that are extremely reliable and in great condition. So when we did that first repair in the summer, there was no indication at that time that there was any looming second repair to be done. So the crews repaired that valve, put it back together, buried it, and left as they would do any other 12-inch valve in our system, which happens on a near daily basis. In November, when we came back to the transmission main, it was a very different situation. When we identified the leak and then excavated the transmission main, it was immediately apparent that we had a more complicated fate ahead of us. Hence why, after the first repair, we had a second repair and then ultimately a third repair that then brought us to the emergency response that we had. The pipe itself just required far more repair than the typical crew can address on the spot. So they're in the same general location, but from our perspective, as far as how maintenance and repair goes, they're nearly unrelated. And so that November event is what really set in motion this whole endeavor. And as Jeff explained, we knew it was difficult. We kept topping the reservoirs off, attempting the repair, but as it progressed, the conditions were just too difficult to manage and needed, you've seen the photos of what we've done, needed a engineering and construction response far in excess of a standard mobilized repair. If you look at what happens in the system around us, even in our partner water systems like Syracuse or anything that WEP is doing, the average crew does not build 40-foot tall sheet pile walls in the earth and put dewatering wells in, right? The typical repair crew shows up with a couple pieces of machine in a trench box and gets the job done, and they do that day in and day out proficiently. What we encountered at this site was just so many orders of magnitude more complicated. We had to step back and apply the solution that you've seen in the photos.
My question is just to kind of say, was there anything
Learned, and it sounds like, no, you did a standard fix, and then you found out it was too late, and you had to do it all.
Yes, sir.
Got it, thank you.
Were you able to pay for all the repairs based on budgeted funds, or have there been any adjustments that need to be made going forward?
We are working through that right now. We haven't gotten all the invoices. In fact, we've gotten very few invoices. They've been working, not invoicing us. So we have that emergency repair fund that's $5 million, and that's going to pay for the bulk of it.
Just one more on finances as far as the capital improvement, the spreadsheet is concerned. We may not know this right now, but do you anticipate most of these projects coming from budgeted funds or from bond issues, or a mix of the two?
Mix of the two. And some of it will be state funded, as we talked about. Some of it will be Micron funded. Some will be out of normal revenues, and some will be bonded by us. There is a benefit, as I've said many times, to the work that we are doing for the broader community. It is not just all for Micron. That redundancy, as we've learned, is super critical. So we know we need to put some of our money where our mouth is, right, as well.
I'm all out of questions. If anyone else has any.
Greg, just a comment. We want to say thank you for all that you've done in this, with what affected and not affected. It's the funniest thing, because most of my constituent calls dealt with how they give you water. They're free water, right?
Next time, just, we hope and pray that it doesn't happen again. Just reach out to us so we can help support you with that outreach, because that was a big part of taking a lot of phone calls from our constituents saying, is water going to be distributed in our town? Is it going to be here for us? But like I said, those are all my calls from constituents. Where can I get my water?
Thank you again. I really appreciate it. This could have been a hair on fire meeting, and instead you guys took care of some pretty intense repairs within a month.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. the next item is a resolution to call for a public hearing in connection with the Oak Orchard Industrial Sewer District. I think everyone's seen a copy of it. Are there any questions or discussion about, oh wait, legislator Nicker's not here. Hang on. Let's wait for him to come back. Do you want me to go get him?
I think he just stepped out.
He's allowed to take a quick break. Yeah, sure, go for it.
He's done all right.
Okay. All right, next item is going to be the resolution to call for a public hearing for the Oak Orchard Industrial Sewer District. I think everybody got a copy of that. We packaged it for today's meeting. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Can I- you have a
Oh,
I was just wondering, can we hear like kind of a presentation of like what this is? and-
Oh, there, go for, yeah, absolutely.
It's up to you.
Okay.
I was
It's
just
after the
leaning
motion.
back and.
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry, yeah, if.
Yeah, remember that's after the motion, then they come up here, so they can start talking about it.
We could be very brief.
No, take your time, please.
I was going to be very comfortable. Well, thank you all. This is, to the chair's point, this is asking for a public hearing on the creation of a special district for an industrial wastewater district for the Oak Orchard area. So this is an administrative mechanism. And I think you'll see in all your materials, there's no budget here, there's no dollar amount. This is truly, I think if you think about it, this is really a way for us to allocate costs. So we truly make sure that we administer and the financial information is truly accountable for the industrial improvement in the Oak Orchard area. That's as simple as it is, how's that?
And my understanding is the resolution is to schedule it, is to have a public hearing about that, which
is the next step in the process.
So, well, Christie will back me up on this. So this originally started, we were here in December, and we asked to be designated as lead agency, which was approved in December. Commissioner hearing was held. That part has been done, I think we provided that. This is the next step, asking for the public hearing, and then it will go to the legislature. I believe on February calendar, it will be voted on after the public hearing.
So, yep, just one step we missed in there. So there's actually, it's a multi-tier process. So we're asking for the public hearing. That'll be adopted at the February session. At February committees, you will have the resolution to then actually approve the district. But there's actually even further steps. It actually goes through New York State too. And then there's actually a final resolution later on after New York State. So it's a multi-tier process.
So the public hearing will be held prior to February session, is that correct?
It will be held right before the February session, correct? Right? Yeah.
Well, it's her discretion to prescribe the hearing. It wasn't requested, it wasn't in the resolution. We can pick it to be before February session if the budget's ready to vote on it, but it was not pre-picked prior to today. So
So actually, no, it has to go to, it would be March. I'm sorry, this is my fault. The earliest it could be would be March, it would be at March session, because you vote at February to allow a public hearing, then the public hearing gets held at the next session. Sorry, it's just blank.
Does anyone else have any other questions? We've got a.
Do all the work that they're doing and to create all the jobs that we're very excited to see in Onondaga County, so happy to hear it.
We're being open, we're having that public hearing, give anybody that has something to say an opportunity. That's all anybody could ask for.
We had a motion in a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Next up.
All right, everybody. I think everyone's heard my spiel already, but just in case if you missed it. So as we know, the legislature is responsible for doing a number of appointments and confirmations related to different boards, commissions. They're named a number of different things. And there are two major tracks that are happening. One is appointments, which are appointed, typically put forward by the chair, though in some cases minority leader, majority leader, et cetera. And we as a legislator vote on them to appoint them. And there is another track that the county executive sends folks our way for us to confirm said appointment. So of all of these various commissions and boards and committees, there's been a number of ways that these appointments and confirmations have happened in the past. For the appointments and confirmations for this year, what we're looking to do is to connect each one of those outside boards, committees, commissions to a standing committee of the legislature so that we can just both be more involved in the process of who should be appointed to these, as well as staying more connected to them once appointed and or confirmed to know what's going on in the fisheries advisory board, for example. So every single one has been connected with one of the standing committees, and so this for the environmental protection committee is one. Just if you're looking through the printout, there's a few discrepancies, so please do not use this as the actual list. It is in Basecamp, and we will also send you a follow-up in terms of the actual ones that are assigned to this committee. So I'm going to verbally run through the ones that are assigned to the Environmental Protection Committee. The DEC Region 7 Fish and Wildlife Advisory Board, which is actually appointed by this county executive, and we confirm it. We are looking into the Deer and Tick Management Advisory Committee to see the current standing of that. If it still exists, it will be connected to this committee. The Metropolitan Water Board is connected here. The Onondaga County Fisheries Advisory Board, the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency, otherwise known as OPRA, the Forest Practice Board District 3, the Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation District, the Onondaga County Water Authority, AQUA, as is now infamous, and then also some other confirmations are the Council on Environmental Health and the Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation. So those are, sorry, I already said that one, so that's a repeat. So the Council on Environmental Health is also on this list. And so what that means is that there are some vacancies that currently exist, and then some of them have the rolling different terms. Our staff is working on combing through all the minutes, combing through all the details to help us put this together, and our goal is in February to, as a committee, review any of the vacancies and have resumes on hand to be able to review related to filling those vacancies. And so we will be corresponding between now and the February committee meeting. However, as we are doing that, we would really appreciate if you would send all resumes for anyone who you would think would be good for any of these committees or any committees, period, but especially the committees that you sit on, to share those with John DeSantis via email is fine, and he will be keeping a running file of those for you as a committee's review to put forward who you would suggest to fill these vacancies as they come available on these committees. Any questions? All
agenda items, so unless anyone has anything else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
All right, great job.
We're adjourned till February.